Okay guys, this is Miss Page, and I wanted to go over our comp test from last week so that you guys would have the opportunity to check your work and see if there was anything that you were missing. Just graded them, and some of them were pretty good, and I hope to see even more good grades this week. So let's get started. The first question is one of our solve and graph questions, and we're supposed to solve for x. And we're going to do that by dividing the two sides of the equation. We're going to draw a line from our inequality, and we're trying to get this x by itself, so we're going to start off by subtracting 2 from both sides of the equation. When we subtract 2, over here, negative 13 minus 2 gives us a negative 15. The 2 minus 2 cancel each other out, and so we have negative 3x's left over on this side. We haven't done anything to affect that less than or equal to symbol, so we're going to leave it alone. All right, we're still trying to get x by itself, and we have a negative 3 with it now. That is negative 3 times x, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. When we divide by a negative, that makes us that calls in that special case scenario that we have to flip the symbol. And over here, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 15 divided by 3 is positive 5. And those negative 3's cancel out. The only thing left on that side is the x. So we know that 5 is greater than or equal to x. And if we flip that around, we can say x is less than or equal to 5. And it means the same thing. All we did was flip that whole thing over. So here's 0. Here's 5. We're going to have a closed circle. And our arrow goes to the left. Okay? And that is the answers to that question. You had to give this answer and show your graph. Okay, moving on to the second question. We're supposed to use this table to write an equation to represent the relationship between the x and y values. So this is one of our y equals to mx plus b questions. Okay, and if you have trouble remembering that, it is the very first equation on our math chart, y equals mx plus b. So, all right. We are going to have to back it up to 0. That's just the easiest way to do it when there is a pattern that we can discern. So here we're subtracting 2 each time, and here we're subtracting 1 each time. So if I back up to 1 to 0, over here, backing up 2 each time, so 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. We're going to use these numbers to help us to fill in this equation. Okay? We have to solve for our two things that we don't know. M is the slope, and that is our change in y divided by the change in x. And if we do 5 to 7, that is a change of 2. And our change from 2 to 3 is a change of 1. So our slope, m, is 2. And then b, if we remember that it's the value of y when x is 0, that means that b is 1. So I'm going to take those two values and substitute them into that equation, and we can say y is equal to m, which was 2, times x plus 1. And that is the answer to the second one. Okay? Moving on. Number 3, it's asking us to find the volume of this pyramid. And we're going to do that by, number 1, going to the volume section, there it is, of our math chart. It is 1/3 of capital B times H. So I'm going to write my formula down. Volume is 1/3 capital B, which is the area of the base of the pyramid, times the height of the pyramid. So what is the area of the base? When we come down here, it's a rectangle and it's 8 by 3. So the area of the base, length times width, is 24. So I'm going to take that, bring it back up here into the area of the base, and I'm going to multiply 1/3 times 24 times the height of my pyramid, which is not this, but this. Remember, the height of the pyramid is the distance from the base to its apex. So 10. And 24 times 10 is 240. If I divide that by 3, I get 80 cubic centimeters. So that's the volume of that pyramid, and that is what you should have had as your answer there. Okay. Next question. Find the change to the nearest tenth and state whether it's an increase or a decrease. So I have to remember on this one that formula that is not on our math chart. I wish it was down here. I wish on our math chart it said difference divided by the original amount, but it doesn't. We're just going to have to remember that. So difference divided by the original amount. The difference between 450 and 504. And the original amount is the first amount, which was 450. If we subtract that, we get 54, and we divide that by 450, it's going to give us a decimal answer. And then we're going to have to change it to a percent to get our final answer. So let's do this. Remember, Norman, the numerator, goes inside, and the donkey, the denominator, has to stay outside. So we're going to put 54 in the box and 450 outside. I'm going to add a decimal and a 0, and now I can start my division. 450 goes into 540 one time. Bring your 450 down here. Subtract. Add another 0. Bring down. 450 goes into 900 exactly 2 times. 2 times 450 is 900 with a 0 remainder. So it goes exactly 0.12 times. To convert a decimal to a percent, we have to move that decimal over 2 places. So 0.12 is equal to a 12% change. And it's going from 450 to 504. That's going up, so that is an increase. So the answer to this is a 12% increase. Circle up my answer, and I'm good to go to the next question. All right. This question asked us for the difference in the area and the circumference of the circle. So we're going to be finding 2 things. The circumference of the circle on our math chart, right here, circumference is pi times the diameter, and then the area is, the area of a circle right here is pi r squared. So let's write down those 2 formulas because we're going to use both of them. The circumference is pi times the diameter, and area is pi r squared. Rewrite that as pi times r times r. So we remember not to multiply times 2, but to multiply it by itself. Okay, so circumference is going to be pretty easy. Instead of pi, we're going to use 3.14. And diameter is 9. So we do that multiplication, we'll be finished there. And then over here, we're going to put 3.14 for pi. and the radius is half of the diameter. So diameter is all the way across, so the diameter is 9, and the radius is going to be half of 9, which is 4.5. So come back over here and fill that in. 4.5 and 4.5. Okay, so we've got a lot of multiplication to do. 3.14 times 9 gives us 36, 12, 28. We're going to bump our decimal over 1, 2, 1, 2. So we get 28.26 meters. And then our area, I'm going to start off with 4.5 times 4.5. Doesn't matter which order you multiply numbers. We get 22 there. Put a 0 placeholder. 20. 4 times 4 is 16, plus the 2 gives me 18. Add it all up. And then bump the decimal over 1, 2. So 1, 2. 20.25. Now, that is this part. We still have to multiply it times 3.14. Okay, so 20.25 times 3.14. 4 times 5 is 20. 8, 10, 1, 8, 0 placeholder. 5, 2, 0, 2. 2 placeholders. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1. 6 and 7, 0 and 6. Now we're going to add it all up. Zeros. 5, 8, 5, 3, and 6. And we're going to bump that decimal over 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that answer is 63.585. Now the question is, what's the difference in the area and the circumference of the circle? So we're going to have to subtract the circumference, 28.26, remember to line up those decimals, from the area. And we get 5, 2, 3, borrow here, that becomes a 5. 13 minus 8 is 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. And our difference is 35.325. Okay. The next one asked us to find the value of x. And it gives us these numbers, and we're going to figure out the difference.